Good evening. It's 11 o'clock on the East Coast, 8 p.m. on the West Coast, and I'm Jason Tweed, and this is Nightly Muse. October 4th, 1985 was an important day because the group called the Free Software Foundation was founded. You may have never heard of the Free Software Foundation, and that's okay. The Free Software Foundation was really founded as to promote a general philosophy. They believed that software was too important to be tied down by patents and licenses and everything else. Up until that point, all software that was written for computers was licensed and copyrighted. And essentially you could charge anything that you wanted for it. This organization, though, believed that this was not a good plan, that for software to develop thoroughly, it needed to be open and free, not necessarily free in terms of dollar amounts, but free for programmers to read the software, comprehend it, understand it, and improve upon it, and build upon the old software version. So born was the Free Software Foundation by a guy named Richard Stallman. Now, what does that mean and why is it important? Well, interesting. Think about the software that we use today. Of course, prior to 1985, there was the Microsoft operating system, which was still in its infancy, that ran on PCs, MS-DOS as it was. The other prominent operating system was one called UNIX, and it was a proprietary software that ran on larger mainframe business computers. Right around this time, Apple was just getting into the development of their first computers. So up until that point, a handful of companies controlled software, and most of it was proprietary, written for the machines that it was to be used on. The big players were the IBM PCs, and then the UNIX mainframes. But this philosophy said, we want to create new software and give it away for free. And when I say free, I mean open license. And that was the origin of a software collective called GNU, GNU, which stands for GNU, not Unix. Basically, what they wanted to do is they wanted to create a version of Unix that would run on these mainframe machines, but I'll give it away for free. Since that time, the GNU license, as it's known, basically says you can write software, you can look at the code, you can make a copy of it, you can improve upon it, and you can give it away. And you can also sell it. So if you make something based on the old software, you're allowed to improve it and sell it. However, whatever you write whatever improvements you add, you also have to give away under the same license, meaning that even if you sell it, the buyer of that software has the right to edit it, improve on it, and resell it to somebody else. And that's the GNU public license. This philosophy has evolved over the decades, and it's become an incredibly important part of the computer industry as we know it. Some examples of free, what we call open source software, would be WordPress, which is one of our favorites. It's the one that we use to develop websites. Currently, about 19% of all websites in the world run on the WordPress platform, and it's given away for free. So you may say, how does WordPress make any money? Well, they run hosting services for those websites. But they also allow you to host it on your own hosting service. The other thing is that millions of developers work on the WordPress platform, and as they identify functionality that people need, they will develop their own what are called plugins. Some of those plugins are given away free under the GNU license, and other plugins are premium plugins that we pay for, and we pay for ongoing development. And our company spends about $12,000 a year in order to maintain all of the licenses to the high-end software that we use. So you can make some serious money by writing new software for use on a free platform. Some other open source softwares that you may have heard of: Mozilla Firefox. The Mozilla Foundation created several pieces of free open source software, including the Firefox browser. They built a few others that one called Thunderbird, which was an email client, and several others, but primarily their principal product is Firefox. Firefox is one of the most prominent browsers in use today. Another open source project is called the Gimp project. The Gimp project said, we're tired of paying a lot of money for Photoshop. Photoshop by Adobe bought Dreamweaver, which was Macromedia, and essentially they cornered the market on website development and photo processing software. And as they did, they jacked up the prices. So a group of developers got together and they created the Gimp platform, which is a functional clone of Photoshop. So now if you don't want to spend money on Photoshop, then you can take the Gimp platform and use it. And there are a number of other ones as well. But that's the most famous one. Another interesting story is Sun Microsystems, one of the larger computer companies in the world, was spending thousands or millions of dollars for their employees to use Microsoft Office. At that time, Microsoft Office was the principal Office platform. However, Microsoft and Sun Microsystems are competitors. So they hated the idea that just to run their Office, they had to buy licenses to Microsoft software. So they came up with an idea. They said, hey, you know what? We have a whole lot of programmers that work for us. What if we built our own software? Would it be cheaper to create a brand new version of Office for our own internal use than to pay all the licensing fees to Microsoft? So that's what they did. They created a program called OpenOffice, and they used it basically as a Microsoft Office clone for their own processes in their own office of 3,000 employees or whatever. And then they gave it away for free because they saved money by developing this software in-house. And they decided that they didn't want to compete with Microsoft for the Office suite. So they gave it away for free. And if you go to openoffice.org, you can download an entire suite of software similar to Microsoft Office for free. And it's open source. So if you're a developer, you can add more power to it. Other things that have come out of this philosophy are the Creative Commons licenses. Creative Commons is the idea that you can create some type of work of art. It could be written, it could be photography, it could be video, and there's a tremendous amount out there, and you can essentially give it away. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, because let's say you're with your family and you take 2,500 pictures of the Eiffel Tower in France. Well, of those 2,500, let's face it, maybe 12 of them are any good. And maybe 3 of them look like they could be on the front of a postcard. So you suck as a photographer. However, those 3 images are pretty sweet and you'd like to share them. So you put them on your Flickr account or in your Google Images and you give the rights away for other people to download it. And Creative Commons works in an interesting way because you can retain some rights. So for example, let's say you take this photo and you say, you can use it as long as you don't use it to make money. So there's a non-commercial license. You can use it if you're going to make money, but you have to keep it original. That's what's called a commercial license with no derivatives. You can use it for any reason whatsoever, and you can even take it and change it and alter it so that you can put a picture of Big Bird on top of the Eiffel Tower, or you can do a painting using that picture as inspiration, or you can take the photo and put music behind it and turn it into a short video. That is the Creative Commons commercial derivatives license. It's the most liberal license that there is. And then you can also say, you can do all that, but I want credit. I want you to tell them where you got it. That's called an attribution license. Now, the idea is that you can give something away that could have value without losing your rights to it, but contribute to the greater good. And if everyone did this with all of their photos, imagine the millions of photos, the millions of videos, the millions of drone footage, the millions of songs, the millions of poems that would be generated each and every single day and given to the common good. Powerful stuff. Then the idea of free took another unique turn with the invention of Google. Now, Google enforces their software licenses, and they're very protective and proprietary. However, they give the use of their software away for free or for very low cost. And the reason that they do that is because if you use a free search engine rather than paying for it, then it's going to be more valuable to you. And ultimately, Google is an advertising company, not a search engine company. But look at the billions of dollars of products and services that have been created from this core product of a search engine that they gave away for free decades ago. The Android platform is another open source. That means you can develop new apps for that platform without paying any money to Google, who created the Android platform. So think about your phone and the amazing things that it does and how cheap it is for all that software development. You probably have 20 to 50 apps on your phone, and most of them you got for free. And the ones you didn't get for free, chances are you paid very little money for them. $2, $10. Compare that to the cost of software. It's ridiculous the amount of value that we get virtually for free. Why? Because the Android platform said you can use our platform and develop on it at no cost. And that forced Apple to do the same thing. So, October 4th, 1985, literally changed the world, and you didn't even know about it. I'm going to take some comments. Thank you for joining us. We still have a few people watching now, so if you have any comments that you'd like to share, pop them into the chat box. We had a critical failure earlier tonight. A few of you were joining me as we ran a test of the Zoom software, which promptly crashed. So I'm still working on being able to invite guests, have them appear on the screen in the empty area next to me. But we're getting close. So I would, we hope that we'll be able to do that by next week. But in the meantime, please pop something into the chat. Tell me how you feel about free software and the benefits to society of offering more and more and more software for free. And there's a big awkward silence in the chat. I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight, and I hope you have a very happy free software day. And we'll be back tomorrow night. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.